today we're talking about
Welcome today.
welcome. Okay, everyone. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Amy. And this is
Girls
Gone
Spooky.
Spooky.
Amy and I are talking about the now uniform quote unquote accent of all influencers online. Okay.
Yeah.
So today I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to do this unboxing.
Yeah.
And let me tell you my revolve haul. Okay.
It's always Revolve.
It's
Why is it always Revolve?
Honestly, I have become a little hoe for Revolve.
Oh,
They
really?
have everything. It's like they ship internationally and it's like free shipping, free returns. It's honestly so great.
I love it.
And today I'm gonna see if they have Boxing Day sales.
Oh my god. Okay. Me too. I'll check today.
Oh my god.
Classic.
Well, off we go. So Amy came across a very spooky book that I don't remember what it was called. Hold on, let me see if it's in the screenshots.
Yeah, good question.
Let's see. We should probably give a little credit.
Yeah, that's true. All our ideas came from there.
Nope, it's literally not on there.
Okay, perfect. Maybe I can find it. Let's see.
But it's a book of cursed objects. So there's that. But basically there are like a billion different categories. And so we'll be doing a little bit of a series sprinkled throughout 2025. I have to stop. I'm sorry. I have to stop today. I hope that people know what we're saying. Like if they know what we're talking about.
Otherwise,
if they don't,
just
go on Instagram. Otherwise we sound like idiots. I mean, I think we sound like idiots either way, but I'm okay with that. Today. Okay, I'm done. That was the last one.
Not for me. I'm still going.
We're going to sprinkle some cursed object themes throughout, like themed episodes throughout the year. And we have more of past series, obviously scary stories, also true crime.
True crime.
We should start playing the Law and Order.
At the beginning
These are their
of
stories. Literally. Actually, we might get copyright issues. I might have copyright issues though. Oh well. Come for us, Dick Wolf. Anyway. So today talking about graveyard curses.
Ooh. Spooky.
And Amy's going first. So today. I'm gonna shut the fuck up.
Today. Also, let me influence you really quick. Have you seen these things?
What the hell is that?
It's a Nido cube. And it's like a fidget toy. I got it at a white elephant and I can't stop. I cannot stop.
The way you're pulling it like that.
But then you set it down and it goes back into a little cube shape.
A cube?
An ice cube.
I want one.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
I want one. Give me one.
But anyway, I had to influence you today.
Anyway, that is your influence for today.
Yeah, for today. And my vocal fry is courtesy of my allergies. So it's perfect.
Thanks a lot, Lucy.
Yeah, Lucy.
Oh, God.
Oh, man. Okay.
Lucy's a dog, by the way, for everyone who does not know.
Yes.
Also,
Sweet
just
girl.
really quickly, look at how many grays are just popping off in here.
I can't. They look like blonde.
Yeah, they're not. Those are gray.
Okay. I see them now, but
crazy.
I have them too.
I like it. I'm like never gonna dye them. I love them.
I love that for you. I love that for you.
I love that for you. Today, I love that for you.
Today.
I'm going to change my mind tomorrow, but today.
Today, I love it. I kind of want to start getting mine taken care of. Because they're just like boinging up straight out of my head.
I know.
And I hate it.
I know. They'll stop though. They'll stop. Because mine did that too. But now I lost one a couple days ago that literally was like full length.
Yeah.
And it was like a
Crazy.
squiggle at the end, which is how they first come out, and then they go straight. So anyway, hope y'all are aging along with us here on
Right.
Girls Gone Spooky.
I also just miss being blonde. I was so blonde,
You
and now
are
I'm like
blonde.
brunette.
You are not brunette. You are like very objectively blonde.
I don't know. It's very dirty blonde now. Sink water or whatever people call it.
Stink water.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's such like
Gross.
a gross description. Like dirty
Yeah.
dishwater.
Yeah.
Nice.
Exactly.
Nice.
Dirty blonde is bad enough.
Well, I'm
Just
what
add
you
dirty
would
sink
call
water.
I'm what you would call mousy brown, which isn't much better.
No, yours looks like we have almost the same hair color now.
No,
Almost.
we don't, Amy.
It
Yours is
looks
objectively
close.
blonder. Okay, it's dark where
Mhm.
you're sitting and it's bright where I'm sitting. So
Mm.
it's a trick of the light.
Okay, trick of the light. Anyway,
Trick of the light.
that's a tangent today.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah, that's a
here we
tangent
go.
on yo ass.
Yes, so let's begin with
Okay.
the gravestone of Carl Pruitt.
Who dat?
So, some guy, not a
Some
good guy
guys.
either.
Oh God. Okay.
So, well, yeah, okay. So it's the gravestone of Carl Pruitt. It's 1938 in eastern Kentucky, and tales of a killer ghost are starting to circulate.
Oh.
So no one has seen this ghost, but they're blaming
Convenient.
this ghost, yeah, for 5 deaths that occurred all in the same exact manner, and
Oh my
they
God.
can't really be explained. So, Carl Pruitt, he came home from work one day and found his wife in bed with another man. So, the other man, yeah, a total slut. Her slutty mistress got away.
Slutty.
So he got away, but his wife, unfortunately, he became enraged and he killed her.
Murdered her.
Yeah.
Okay. Classic.
And important detail, he strangled her with a chain. So pretty gruesome.
Okay.
And
Yeah, don't love that.
but
It's giving
afterwards,
Krampus, you know,
yes.
rusted chains.
Yes. Yep. Very Krampus, very Carl. But he not it doesn't take long. He comes back to his senses and he's like, "Oh my God, what did I do?" And he ends up killing himself as well.
Oh,
So
dark.
murder suicide situation.
Okay.
So Pruitt's relatives are obviously very upset with him and also sad. It's a tragedy. But they insist that he is buried in a different cemetery than where they bury his wife.
Okay.
And around his burial site, pretty soon after he's buried, some weird things start to appear, like all these weird discolored circular spots in the ground, in the grass, and eventually it starts to look like a pattern, kind of like a chain in the grass near his gravesite.
Weird.
Yes. So this obviously attracts people to go see his gravesite. And so the first person that goes to see, it's this group of young boys. They make a trip over there and they're probably like egging each other on, like, I'm not scared, but I bet you're scared, blah, blah, blah.
Idiots.
So, yeah. So one of the boys throws a rock at the gravestone to demonstrate that he's not afraid.
That's a good way to get possessed. I'm going to be real.
Yep. And here's the thing, that on the way home, that child, whose name was James Collins, he left the cemetery with his friends. They were all riding bikes. On the way home, he was involved in some bizarre accident that led to his bike chain being entangled around his neck, and it strangled him to death.
Are you serious?
That's what the story says.
I
don't know.
Okay, that is really weird.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know how much truth there is to any of this, or if this is urban legend territory, but I do think there was a real person named Carl Pruitt in
for sure.
Kentucky. But yeah, who knows if all of these extras are true. But anyway, so that's number 1. Number 2 was James Collins's mother, so the boy who died with the bike chain. She's just overcome with grief, she goes to Pruitt's gravesite to see what's going on there. And she gets angry. She starts like
Oh my God.
hitting the gravestone and just taking out her grief on this place. And the following day, while she's hanging clothes on a clothesline, she trips and falls, gets entangled in the lines, and the clothesline tightens around her neck and she suffocates to death.
Oh my God.
So,
Okay, you know what? Sorry to interrupt you really quickly here, but
yeah.
apparently accidental asphyxiation is like one of the number one ways that people die. Like in accidental ways. Like obviously like
Yeah,
disease take the
right.
top spots, but
Yeah,
like what are those called? Like shades, like the
yeah. The
cord on
cords.
shades, like pets
Hmm.
and children get strangled
Yeah,
and die all the time with
yeah.
those. So I
Oof.
sort of am like the bike chain one feels like holy shit, like how did that happen? But like if
Yeah,
the chain snapped or something and got caught and
right.
he was leaning in some way, I
Hmm.
mean, I
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
could.
Like I feel like people have died in crazier ways than that. And
Yes.
especially like a clothesline, that doesn't
Hmm.
actually seem that crazy to me.
Yeah, no, that could definitely happen.
Ew, that's so
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, that's so scary to think about. The like
Yeah.
blind shades, that totally makes
Yes.
sense though
Yeah.
with kids. Ugh.
Yeah.
Um, okay, yikes. So she's number two. And then number three is a farmer who is riding with his family in a horse-drawn carriage. I guess they were talking about Carl Pruitt in this story, and he's like, I'm not afraid. So he decides to shoot his pistol toward the gravesite,
Oh God.
but the sound of the bullet made the horses spook and they
Mm.
start fleeing frantically. The carriage goes too fast and then they get ejected, but the reins wrap around his neck and he gets asphyxiated or
What the
suffocated
heck?
by the reins. Yes. So then, was that number three? Then there's
Yeah,
two. Yeah,
no,
that's number
that's
three. Number
four,
four.
including the wife.
Oh, true. Yeah, I think they weren't
The
counting
wife,
her,
the
the original
boy, the
victim.
mom, the
Yeah.
guy, this guy.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. So
Yep.
fine. Three.
Yep. Okay, so now we're on number four. This time it's police officers that are getting involved. They go to investigate to see if anything's up in this place.
Mm.
And they take photographs around his tomb. And as they're driving away, there's a bright light in their rearview mirror that seems like it's pursuing them. So they start going faster just to see like if it's following them,
Yeah.
and they go off the road. And one of the police officers is ejected from his seat, but
Oh
the
shit.
driver is stuck in his seat, and there's a chain between two fence posts wrapped around his neck.
Oh my God.
So that's number four.
A
And
police
then,
officer.
yeah, apparently it
That's scary.
is
I mean,
scary.
not that like it's scarier that a police officer died, but I feel like when scary things happen, like people call the police, and the fact that
Yes,
they're not safe either is really
right.
scary.
Yeah, it is. He does not discriminate against
No.
who his victims are.
Yeah.
But yeah, then by this time it's the 1940s now. His gravesite has a real reputation. People really do avoid it until this fifth victim, he decided to go into the graveyard carrying a hammer.
Oh my God.
He marched up to the grave. He started ripping large chunks of stone from the gravestone. The pounding was so loud that it could be heard by the surrounding residents. They chose to disregard it, though, until they heard a blood curdling scream. So, a group of men carrying lanterns dashed towards the graveyard, and what they witnessed chilled their blood. Eventually, terrified by something, the man hurried to the entrance and became entangled in the large chain used to close the gate. So he was choked to death trying to flee from the um, graveyard.
So that's five.
Yeah, so that's five, not including the wife,
Right.
who was the original.
The original murder.
Yep. But now a strip mining operation demolished both the burial and the surrounding terrain in 1958. So, according to legend, this ended the curse at that point.
Oh.
So, he's no longer there, but what a reign of terror he had.
That is bonkers.
Yeah, it is. And if those really did all happen that way, that's like beyond coincidence, I feel like. That's
100%.
crazy.
And that's like one of those things that like I feel like a story like that gives weight to all of the urban legends around like haunted gravestones that do exist, because it's like people actually died. So like don't fuck around.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't think that you're above everyone else in this scenario.
No. Jesus.
Yeah. Spooky.
Very spooky. All right, Carl. Jeez.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also,
Vengeful little bitch.
Vengeful Nana.
Vengeful Nana.
Classic. Also, I'm just thinking, do you want to alternate today?
Oh, yeah.
Or
That's a good idea, because we both have 4.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I'm ready to rock.
Let's do it.
Okay, mine's a little more like eerie, spooky, not so concrete, but spooky. Mm-hmm. And this is the Black Aggie. So the Black Aggie is the folkloric name given to a statue formerly placed on the grave of General Felix Agnes in Druid Ridge Cemetery in Pikesville, Maryland, in the U.S. It is an unauthorized replica rendered by Edward Ludwig Albert Pausch, Pausch. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. But the replica is of a sculptor named Augustus Saint Gaudens, who made this 1891 figure popularly called Grief at the Adams Memorial in Rock Creek Cemetery in Washington. So, in Washington, D.C., sorry, not Washington State. So a little bit of background on all of this. So Felix Agnes was the publisher of the Baltimore American. He died in 1925 and he was buried in Druids Ridge Cemetery right outside of Baltimore. And on his grave was placed this statue. It's a large black mourning figure who Augustus Saint Gaudens, who made the original, called Grief. So during the day, this was like a beautiful, looked sort of like this like mourning, like shrouded figure, and then darkness falls and all of the legends like pop up. So Henry Adams, who was the one who basically like kind of stole this whatever statue idea, he, when his wife passed away, he had this very elaborate memorial built to her, and asked, I'm getting this wrong. Adams, when his wife died, he commissioned Saint Gaudens to make the original. So that's when the original was made. It was like put on her this very elaborate memorial. And then fast forward some time, and this other guy, Posh, would make this new, like, sort of like mimicked design that would come to be known as the Black Aggie, which would then go on his wife's like memorial or whatever, her grave. So there's a ton of like drama, like some 1800s art drama included in this, which I'm not going to go into all the details because honestly it's like kind of boring. But what you have to know is like he kind of stole the design, and people sort of think that there's like some bad juju associated with that, which like I think is super valid. Like if you think about who was that artist who made those paintings that everyone said like drove people mad, like the black painting. Hold on, who was that? Goya. Goya, who painted those like horrific scenes of hell and stuff like that. And it's like to gaze on them is to gaze on the face of the devil and all this scary shit. Like, and I do sort of think like art like the idea was that Goya towards the end of his life when he did this series was essentially possessed by a demon, and the demon forced him to paint these horrific things in order to possess those who looked upon it. So I feel like art, especially art that's like mimicked or stolen in that way, like really does have the power to be very dark.
Yes.
So going back to like what it looks like, it's a seated figure in sort of a cowl or a shroud, and it was installed in 1926 and immediately surrounded by all kinds of urban legends, principally that someone spending a night in its lap, which like uncomfortable, why would you want that? Yeah, would be haunted by the ghosts of those buried there, and that the spirits of individuals buried at Druid Ridge would annually convene at the statue, that no grass would grow on the ground where the statue's shadow would lie during the daytime, or that the statue would animate itself during the night, whether by physically moving or by showing glowing red eyes. So obviously these legends caused a ton of very unwelcome attention towards the statue, and lots of people were like basically desecrating the cemetery. So visiting the cemetery at night, breaking in, the pedestal that the statue was on was frequently vandalized. So the Agnes family, they were very disturbed by all of this attention and like I said, desecration of their like family gravesite, donated it to the Smithsonian in 1967. It sat for a bunch of years in storage at the National Museum of American Art, later named the Smithsonian American Art Museum, where there is an authorized recasting of the original Adams Memorial statue. Now, Black Aggie was moved from her previous home at the museum then after the real replica that was like condoned was made. Was moved to a courtyard behind the Dolly Madison House on Lafayette Square in Washington, where she currently stands. So there's like a lot of movement, and it's confusing because she looks just like the original statue. So there's the original statue somewhere, the replica of that's at the Smithsonian, and then Black Aggie was moved to basically like a private residence, I think. But the bare blank pedestal that was originally at Druid Ridge Cemetery is still there. So anyway, so when the general's wife, Annie, died in 1922, and then Agnes himself died 3 years later, he was also laid to rest at the feet of Aggie, we'll call her. And that was really when all of this stuff happened. So I'm just like fast forwarding here through some of this. So here's some of like the stories that would happen. And some of these actually are like confirmed, and it's hard to know, like unlike yours where it's like, okay, if all of these really did happen, there's no way that's a coincidence. These are a little bit different. Bit of a content warning here for miscarriage, so I'm not going to talk in a ton of detail about it, but if you need to fast forward, do that now. So it was said, like I said, that the spirits of the dead would rise from their graves to gather around her on certain nights, and that living people who returned her gaze were struck blind. And there were like some instances of people actually going blind. Pregnant women who passed through her shadow, where it's true that grass never grew, would suffer miscarriages. A local fraternity decided to use Black Aggie in their initiation rites. And so candidates for membership were ordered to spend the night in the cold embrace of Black Aggie. And there are tons of stories of, kids who did this and survived, but there are others and like didn't experience anything crazy. But some reported that she came to life and crushed a hapless freshman in her powerful grasp, where like someone was like physically injured. Other fraternity boys were equally as unlucky. One night at the stroke of midnight, the cemetery watchman heard a scream in the darkness, and when he reached the grave, he found a young man lying dead at the foot of the statue. And so the theory is that he had died of fright, but he did actually die. So it's like, we don't know why. Was it actually like he scared himself, or I don't know. So like had a heart attack or something. I don't know. It's very weird. And then one morning in 1962, a watchman discovered that one of the angel's arms had been cut off during the night. The missing arm was later found in the trunk of a sheet metal worker's car along with a saw, and he told the judge that Black Aggie had cut off her own arm in a fit of grief and had given it to him. Obviously, the judge didn't believe him, so he went to jail. But a number of people did believe his story, and almost every night, huge groups of people gathered in Druid Ridge Cemetery, which, of course, was then what triggered them to donate the statue to the Smithsonian. But a lot of people who just became so intrigued, like this article that was written about it, he was able to interview this guy from New Jersey who had a really weird event and was like very intrigued by the lore, but was like, I don't buy this, but was just like interested in seeing it. So this guy, Frank, this New Jersey guy, in the early 1950s went to visit. So Frank and two of his friends come down from Atlantic City for a visit, and they wanted to see some young women that they had met previously while they were in New Jersey on vacation. So it was like they weren't going to see the statue, but they were curious about it when they got there. The group decided to go sightseeing, and one of the stops they made was to see Black Aggie. So the young woman took them to the cemetery and told them a couple stories, and Frank and his friends walked over for a closer look, curious to see, as the girls told them, if anyone had placed coins in Aggie's hands for good luck, which was also another local tradition. They didn't find any coins, but Frank's friend Freddie thought it would be funny to snuff out his cigarette in Aggie's hand instead. Sounds like a really stupid idea to me. So we told him not to, Frank said, but Freddie just laughed. He didn't believe in any of that stuff. And about 10 years later, Freddie was found in a dump in South Carolina. He had been shot in the back of the head, mafia style, and they never found out who did it. Frank sort of like pauses and appears to be thinking, and he says, "It's been many years now, but I will never forget the feeling that I had standing in front of Aggie that night, as if she knew the future and could see what lay ahead for us." So it's like things that you're like, is that really all that connected? But it's this like deep sense of like dread and like, oh, you're gonna pay for that. So anyway, that is the story of the Black Abbey.
Wow. And that's
Black Aggie.
Aggie, yeah. The Black Abbey, whatever.
Black Abbey, whatever, same thing.
That's in DC, you said?
Yes, now it's in DC.
Okay. Wow.
Lafayette Square. Yeah.
Spooky.
So very weird. Yeah. And very confusing. Like I had to read the initial article like 3 times and then I still messed it up. I'm recounting it.
She's had a journey.
She's had a journey, and she's like kind of like a I don't know. I don't even know how to say it. Like a forbidden replica kind of. So it's sort of like, of course she would be kind of dark. Yes. So anyway, it's kind of an interesting one, sort of a kind of spooky one, not like really concretely, but some weird stuff has definitely happened. Like lots of deaths and like weird illness and things. So anyway, I wouldn't fuck with her.
No. We'll leave her alone. Yep.
Yeah, we'll leave her be.
Yes.
All right, you're up.
Okay, here we go. So we have now the Bronze Lady.
Okay.
And I did not know, she's from near Sleepy Hollow, New York.
Oh.
So like she's kind of part of the Sleepy Hollow lore. So she sits on the grounds of the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. And over the years, generations of Sleepy Hollow residents have described her. I keep losing my spot. Have described experiencing trances and visions in her presence. And this includes Washington Irving, who, he also described the ghostly mythology about the statue. Some also say that you can hear her or even see her weeping, which I know there's like a scientific explanation for statues that weep, so that's maybe not as ghostly, but people do say they also hear her crying.
Oh, hate that.
Yeah. And so her statue gazes at the tomb of Civil War General Samuel M. Thomas. And this article that I read had some, I guess, interviews with people who grew up in Sleepy Hollow or knew the story, so they shared what they had heard about her. So I guess I cut out the name of this person. but he said that she's someone you learned about from the older kids, someone who knew the way would
Oh.
take you to see her. At one time, you could hardly find it because there were tall rhododendrons all around it. But they told you that if you knocked on the door of the general's tomb and looked through the keyhole, you would have a bad dream that night. Of course, that always worked, he said. But that could just be the power of suggestion. But there was another story that the older kids would tell that if you slapped her in the face, sat in her lap, and spit in her eye, she would haunt you for the rest of your life, and you would deserve it.
Well, yeah, that's horrible. Oh my God.
There's no need to do all that to her.
No wonder she's crying. She's got people's saliva like all over her face.
She's got pink eye.
Yeah, she's got pink eye.
Oh, poor bronze lady.
Yeah, geez.
But, this person said that they knew one brave kid who did it, but who knows if that guy has been cursed forever.
Yeah, honestly. Forever.
Yeah, forever. And then we have Sarah Masia. She's the curator of the Tarrytown and Sleepy Hollow Historical Society. And here's what she wrote. She said, I've heard about her crying. People have told me that she weeps because of some tragedy in her life. Of course, you can find scientific explanations for the tears, the sculpture interacting with the environment and all that. What I used to hear when I was a kid was that if you're nice to the statue, she'll take care of you.
Oh.
So she's multifaceted.
Okay, yeah.
Another person said
a benevolent overlord.
Yes, precisely. Let's see. Another person stated that he and a few of his grade school friends snuck out after the streetlights had come on to pay a visit to the Bronze Lady. As they approached her, the warm early spring environment changed to a chilly fog. They slowly made their way into her field of vision, and one of the kids got close enough to touch her hands. Some of the children didn't believe the lore and kicked the Bronze Lady in the shins.
Oh my God.
They would soon regret it, as when they started to leave the cemetery, a large root that seemed to appear out of nowhere knocked the shin kicker off balance and slammed his face.
The shin kicker.
The shin kicker. He got knocked off balance and he slammed his face into the dirt. Coincidence? Perhaps.
I think not.
That's what it says. Yeah, so I think she's just like a little local lore sort of thing.
Yeah.
Nothing too spooky, but I wouldn't kick her in the shins or spit in her eye. So
Jesus Christ.
Just in case.
I wouldn't do that to any statue.
Right.
It just seems like kind of shitty.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't do that either. But yeah, on to you.
Okay, I'm gonna butcher this. Are you ready? This is the Bjorkatorp runestone curse. So this is one of Bjorkatorp. This is one of Sweden's great mysteries, and it surrounds a monolith called the Bjorkatorp. Let me see, Bjorkatorp. Yeah, I'm saying it right. Runestone. It's nearly 14 feet tall, or 4.2 meters, and it's located in Blekinge, Sweden. I'm so sorry for any Swedes listening if that's wrong. And it forms a stone circle with two other blank menhirs, menhirs, which are like, they sort of look like the what's that? Like Stonehenge, like just pillars, kind of stone pillars, and with several other solitary stones in the surrounding regions. So it's kind of like not all that special seeming until you read what's on it. So it's covered in a Proto-Norse language of runes, which contain an extremely foreboding warning about the stone. So one side of the stone reads, and this is in like rough translation, but I, master of the runes, conceal here runes of power. Incessantly plagued by maleficence, doomed to insidious death, is he who breaks this monument.
Wow.
And then the runes on the other side of the stone translate to prophecy of destruction or prediction of perdition, which may be in reference to the warning on the other side pertaining to the stone's destruction. So in other words, don't destroy this or you'll probably die. so there's a ton of information about like how they translated and like all of the variations of this like this runic alphabets that have come between this one and, you know, Germanic tribes. But anyway, it's like dating way, way, way back, like 2nd century. And so they talk a lot about like how they got to that translation, and there are a lot of scholars who have weighed in on this. um, there's also a lot of mystery, so it's like, okay, scary, but then there's also a lot of mystery around like, why is it even there? Like, why would some 2nd century, you know, person have created this? Some believe that it's an ancient border marker between the Swedes and the Danes. It's also thought to have been a fertility shrine or a shrine honoring the Norse god Odin, who's basically like the top dog in Norse mythology.
Top dog.
But yeah, top dog. Probably the most predominant theory, though, is that it was a burial marker, either for a real grave or as some sort of memorial, which then would necessitate the use of some prophetic warning so that people wouldn't remove it or destroy it. But there was an archaeological investigation of the area in 1914, which didn't reveal the presence of any human remains. So the purpose of the stone is still unconfirmed and probably will always be unconfirmed. So when, like, of course, like, it's spooky just as it is, but there are some kind of weird mysteries that have been associated with the stone. So the stone at one point in history was thought to be an impediment to the land, which a local man was trying to cultivate, and he attempted to remove the stone so that he could till the land. And on a day of calm weather and with no wind, the local man piled wood around the stone so he could heat the stone and then crack it by pouring cool water over the stone's surface. This is like really brutal. So, as the man set fire to the wood surrounding the stone, a sudden gust of wind blew the flames away from the stone and towards the man, setting his hair on fire and extinguishing the blaze around the Bjorkenthorpe runestone.
Oh no.
The man, unable to quench the flames, died, like burned alive.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So pretty fucking rough. And there have been a few others like that. There are other weird things of like people trying to move it. And obviously like not being successful. Not so much like deaths as far as like history says, but just like weird things where like any attempt to destroy it has been like completely blocked. Some believe by the stone itself, or sort of like the curse of the stone. And there was one other thing I wanted to share. Oh, going back really quickly to like it potentially being sort of a shrine to Odin. One theory is like it's not just sort of like a shrine, but it might have been that all of the stones in this Bjorkatorp area on Blekinge, they are actually a part of an old cult site from the 600s. 600s.
Wow, ancient.
And so there was probably more. It wasn't just like, oh, we, you know, whatever, like honor this god. It was probably like sacrifices and things like that. And while there are no remains found in the direct vicinity of this sort of circle of stones, there are like ancient sort of like burial areas in the very near proximity as well. So ancient remains on a ridge that's like further to the north that are from like how they're able to date them, bones from the Bronze and Iron Ages. So, I mean, really a lot of history, and obviously like, I mean, it's a burial place. So that is the Bjorkatorp runestone. So don't try and crack it because you'll burn alive.
Yeah. Oh boy. That's a good one.
Creepy. Yeah, very creepy. Very creepy.
Yeah.
You're up, my girl.
There's a runestone in a museum in Dave's hometown in Minnesota that is a little bit mysterious whether it's real or not. But some people who believe that it's real think that that means that Minnesota is like the birthplace of the New World. because
God.
it would have been reached before anyone else if this runestone were real. So just kind of funny.
That's interesting. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is funny.
But
Like, yeah, we were first.
yeah.
We were the birth of
Yep.
this place.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
That's kind of funny.
You know, we can hold on to what we want to.
Believe what you
Just
want,
for fun.
you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just for fun.
Yeah.
Today. It's for fun.
Today. It's for fun today. Okay. So the third one for me is Shakespeare's grave.
Ooh.
So I did not know any of this. This was kind of cool. So there's said to be a curse on Shakespeare's grave, which is in the Church of the Holy Trinity in Stratford upon Avon, England.
Mm.
The curse reads, "Good friend, for Jesus' sake forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed be the man that spares these stones, and cursed be he that moves my bones."
Okay, that's very Shakespeare.
Yes, very. And it's thought that he actually wrote that himself.
Oh,
So,
okay.
because in
God, I'm
his
good.
day, yeah, she could identify Shakespeare from
I
a
could.
mile away.
Yeah.
So he probably wrote that, they think, because it was common for bodies to be exhumed for research purposes or just to make room for other people to be buried at that time.
Ew.
And
Gross.
yeah, I guess that Shakespeare did not want that to happen to him. So
yeah, fair enough.
So far, his warning seems to have worked. Even when the grave received some repairs in 2008, workers said that the stones would not actually be moved and the bones would definitely not be disturbed. And it has recently been suggested that Shakespeare's remains be exhumed and studied using the same techniques that allowed us to learn more about King Richard III. So we might find out how effective that curse really is. And I should have looked this up. I don't remember when this article is from or if that happened. But I think
interesting.
let's see, this is Professor Francis Thackeray.
Thackeray Binks.
Thackeray Binks.
Thou mangy feline.
Did I tell you that Dave thought it was Zachary up until last year?
Think a lot of people think it's Zachary.
No.
Thackeray.
Yeah, okay, Thackeray. Anyway,
Thackeray.
I don't know if that ended up happening, but it sounds like they were going to make efforts to not have to move his bones at all.
Okay.
But his grave is peculiar for other reasons too. Firstly, there was no name plate on it. And of the family members buried next to Shakespeare, he is the only ledger stone that doesn't have a name inscribed upon it. However, sometime before 1623, a funerary monument featuring a half-effigy of Shakespeare in the act of writing was erected on the nearby north wall to commemorate him. Also, his grave is strangely short. It's less than a meter long, which is shorter than his wife Anne Hathaway's grave. So, also, Shakespeare wasn't buried in a coffin. Instead, he was buried like in a sheet or something similar.
Oh.
Yeah. And then
there's just like so much mystery about like who he even was. Like,
yeah,
do we even have that confirmed?
I don't know. I don't know much about him really. Read his works, but I don't know about him as a person.
Yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of like there are a lot of theories about like if he was multiple people actually, or if he was a woman writing under a pen name, which I mean, he was a romantic motherfucker, so I could totally see that being a lady.
Yeah.
Or if it was Anne Hathaway who was actually the mastermind. Yeah. Or what if he didn't even exist? Like if his, sorry, I'm about to be real
conspiracy.
Yeah, real conspiracy theorist right now. Theorist. Jesus, dude. Send help. But if like that's a fake grave or something,
right?
I don't know. That's weird.
Could be. I don't know. Yeah. So really small grave, and also in one. Let's see. Yeah, in 2016, it was the 400th anniversary of his death. So they decided to do a scan, like not moving anything, just a scan. and it looked like his skull was missing. So you can see bones, but they did not
Oh
see a
God.
skull.
Maybe that's what they used for Hamlet.
Could be. And
Scary.
where is that skull now? I wonder.
It's Hamlet, right? Not the to be or not to be.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
To be
I
or
was gonna
not to
say
be.
it's not Macbeth. Okay, yeah.
No. Yes, you nailed it.
Thank you.
Okay, then let's see. Here they say that a 19th century story might reveal what happened to the skull.
Mm.
So there's a rather elaborate tale, it says, published in 1879. The story goes that in 1794, somebody named Frank Chambers, along with a group of grave robbers, stole
Oh,
Shakespeare's skull for a collector for the price of 300 guineas.
charming.
Yes. The story was originally dismissed as nonsense, but when comparing the details with the condition of Shakespeare's grave, researchers now do think it's possible that it's accurate or at least semi-truthful that this might have happened.
Interesting.
A follow-up story then suggested that Chambers panicked and hid the skull in St. Leonard's Church in Beoley, Beoley. I don't know how to say that.
Sounds right to me.
Excited researchers then examined the so-called Beoley skull, but it was thought to belong to a 70-year-old woman. So,
Oh.
Shakespeare? I don't know.
Shakespeare? Is that you?
And yeah, it just closes out with the hunt for Shakespeare's skull may never yield any results. Similarly, whether a terrible punishment will befall those who dare to disturb the bard in the afterlife remains to be or not to be seen.
Good one.
Clever.
Oh God.
But yeah, Shakespeare. I also
That's so
just think about,
interesting.
is it Scary Movie 3 where they say Shakespeare?
I think
Or
so.
is it something
I
else?
haven't
I just
seen
always
that in
hear that in my head.
so long. Like
Yeah, same.
so long. That's
It's
so
funny.
funny. I feel like I kind of love though that like they actually honor the curse on Shakespeare's tomb because I feel like he would
Yeah.
fucking come for you
Yes.
if he's a real person,
Yeah.
was a real
Yep.
person.
Yes. I believe it.
Okay. My next one is the curse of the Tomb of Timur. So has a few different names. The Curse of Timur, the Curse of Tamerlane is a rumor or legend that the Tomb of Timur, who was a Turco-Mongol conqueror who founded the Timurid Empire in and around modern-day Afghanistan, Iran, and Central Asia, and became the first ruler of this dynasty, is cursed, such that whoever disturbs it will face a calamity. And it's very interesting, like how they've connected historical events to this. This is like a pretty quick one, and it's like very loose, I would say. But the popular association here with the curse, like example or quote unquote proof of the curse, is that when Soviet anthropologists opened the tomb in June of 1941, they found an inscription saying that whoever opened it would unleash an invader worse than him. So worse than this Tamerlane guy. And less than a week after the tomb was opened, Hitler began the invasion of the Soviet Union. So people literally started to believe that it was caused by the Curse of Timur. In addition, the Soviet victory in the Battle of Stalingrad has been credited to the curse being broken by Timur getting a reburial about 1 month before the victory in the battle. So just like
That's
weird.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was originally buried this tomb. It was in Gur-Iamir, Samarkand, which is located in present day Uzbekistan, and then obviously like relocated, but then reburied. So, like I said, like the main example of that's been attributed to the curse is basically Hitler and his rise to power and aggression on the global stage. But so for a little bit of background, so 1941, Soviet anthropologists made an expedition to open this tomb of Gur-e-Amir. I'm sure I'm saying that right. But like I said, in modern day Uzbekistan. And this was ordered by Stalin to confirm if it was really the Tomb of Timur as it was said to be, and also to study the remains of Timur. So the expedition was led by a Russian anthropologist, Mikhail Gerasimov, and included a lot of members of Central Asian intelligentsia, as they say on Wikipedia. And then they list a ton of names that I'm not even going to touch because they're so Russian and I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing them.
Mm-hmm.
A group of journalists and cameramen also joined the expedition to film and document the process. So it's agreed by different accounts, but that before the tomb was opened, 3 men approached Sadruddin Aini, who was like leading the charge here, and handed him a manuscript said to be extremely old, and claimed that the manuscript said that the tomb could not be opened because of a curse. So they were warned before. The men begged them not to open the tomb, but Amy shooed them away with a stick, which is like multiple accounts of the stick.
Perfect.
And he attributed the idea of a curse to like a story that was created after the death of Timur to deter grave robbers, which totally makes sense. And there, like I said, there were multiple different people that confirm that there were these 3 men. They all say, yes, 3 men approached us at a tea house near the gravesite and handed this manuscript over that allegedly contained warning of the curse. Similar to the story of the curse of King Tut, a very foul smell emitted from the tomb when it was opened, which, like, not surprising.
Yeah.
And the crew experienced a lot of technical difficulties. So the lights were going out, but would come back on, and the electrician was unable to determine what was causing all of the electrical failure. And then just a few days after the tomb was opened, Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union, obviously leading many to connect that to the curse. Eventually, word of the supposed curse reached Stalin, who ordered that a special transport aircraft be provided to return Timur to his tomb. And in November 1942, he was reburied with Islamic rites. 5 weeks later, the Red Army experienced its first major victory by winning the Battle of Stalingrad, which we all know historically turned the tide of the war. And many credited this to the lifting of the curse. So just very interesting. Prior to that, way long before, in 1740, Nader Shah, who was fascinated by Timur, tried to take the sarcophagus, breaking it, and took a jade slab from the tomb. So they didn't remove it or like open the immediate, like where his body actually was, but they opened the larger tomb and took a piece from his burial site. And soon afterwards, his son became extremely ill. And after continuing to face calamities, he returned the stone per the suggestion of his advisors, who were allegedly aware of the curse. And his son, at that time, recovered from the illness. So people think that there's like more historical, like, proof of the curse as well, dating back to the 1700s. So that is the curse of Timur.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, kind of a freaky one.
Yeah, it is. It caused Hitler to come to power. Yikes.
Yeah, which is, I feel like, maybe a bit of a cop-out, but
yeah,
it's fine.
Well, yeah. Okay, my last one is not a haunted graveyard item, but we included it because we were just so curious about what it is.
Oh my god, yeah.
Because it was in one of the other chapters in this book, and it's the little Manny with his daddy's horns. Still don't know why it's called that.
Oh, okay.
So that's, yeah. Unless I'm forgetting, because we did these notes a while ago, but let's see. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
So, the little Manny with his daddy's horns is a 3-inch tall stone head, and it was found by a cleaning lady who stumbled upon it like in some dirt in a basement in a house in Manchester, England. Let's see. So local scholars Tony Ward and Pat Ellison Reid explored the site and found evidence of a strange ritual there.
Hmm.
So the curator of the Manchester Museum, his name is John Pragg. He later described what it looks like, and he said, around it was a circle of candle holders, and inside the circle they found the remains of chicken and hare bones.
Oh, I don't like this.
No, spooky. Ivory counters used for scoring at billiards, and other offerings, including a mother figure whose head had been broken off accidentally. I don't know how they know it was an accident, but that's what they said. So I was kind of unclear on this timeline, but I think that for like the better part of a decade, the little Manny, they just left him where he was found in that circle, which is probably smart.
Yeah, that's probably for the best.
And at the time, he was assumed to be like a Celtic relic of some kind because he looked kind of like a Celtic stone head. But when the Lindo man, and maybe you remember this, it was the remains that were found like really well preserved in a peat bog in northern England. So when those were discovered, there was a huge uptick in the interest in all things Celtic.
Of course.
So then John Pragg, the curator of the museum, went back to get the little Manny so that he could be put on display with the Lindau man. So after John picked Manny up, the curse rumors started right away because after 18 years of accident-free driving, he was unfortunate enough to scrape the side of his car not once, but twice on the way home with the little Manny. Next, when the keeper of geology at the museum refused to examine the figurine to determine what stone it might be made from and also its waxy exterior, John arranged to take the little Manny down to London to have it looked at by John Mills, who was the chief conservator at the National Gallery, who specialized in waxes and resins. Like, how very specific.
Very specific. So, imagine making a career out of that.
Yeah, I specialize in wax. But
and resins.
Yeah, and resins.
Can't forget the resins.
Can't forget the resin.
Maybe he's a big pot smoker and he's like,
could
I
be.
think I'll extend my interest in weed, wax and resin.
Perfect. It suits him.
Yeah.
So he took the little Manny home with him. So John, the curator, took the statue home with him the night before he went to take him to London. And that night, his car was broken in two. And then on the way into London in the morning on the train, his zipper disintegrated. So he had to go through his like full day of meetings with an open fly on his pants.
Oh. Manny's like, you're gonna be embarrassed. Yeah. I'm not gonna really hurt you, but you're gonna be embarrassed.
Exactly. He's just mischievous. Which
I like that.
All of these, I mean, getting your car broken into is terrible, but like
that sucks.
He didn't get in a car accident. He just like scraped the side of his car. Yeah. So it's just like little mischievous things.
It reminds me of that. It was the transport of some haunted object that the Museum of the Weird and Strange or whatever, and it's like while like the car breaks down 3 times or something, like such weird stuff happens when you're transporting something like that.
Yeah, I think that was the statue, the one that gives you nightmares or something.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that was creepy.
Yeah, the Idol of Nightmares, I think is what it was called.
Yes, you're right.
Creepy.
That's it. Okay, so then it says, a little mischievous and always happened in pairs. So a couple other things, a collapsed chair, a rogue bus journey, a split head, car keys locked in the car, etc.
A split head? That's not great.
That sounds bad.
Like, lost car keys, cracked open skull.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be pretty bad.
Yeah.
There's no detail on that, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully not as severe as it sounds.
Yeah, exactly. So then, let's see. We have Pat Ellison. Is she one of the ones? Yes. Okay, so she's one of the ones that came initially when they found the little Manny. So she came when he was brought to the museum. She came. And she was not surprised that none of the staff really liked him. So John, the curator, describes how she held him in a fold of her pullover and gently stroked him. She reckoned that the little Manny would not settle for John and his colleagues because they did not treat him right, and that she would settle him. So on leaving, Pat said that the little Manny should be warmer and friendlier now, and when she laid him back in his box, she pulled a few hairs from her head and wrapped them around him. I don't know why she did that, but now the hairs are still there, like as part of the display of the little Manny. So
I wonder if he's better behaved.
I wonder. I'm not sure, because I think the last time he was put on display was in the early 90s. I guess I don't know if he's still out or not. But yeah, he was put on display in the Manchester Museum in 1991.
Oh, okay.
And it was actually a visitor who tipped them off to look into his origins more, because like I said, they assumed it was Celtic. But now they actually think it's a nomoli, which is a type of figurine from Sierra Leone.
Oh.
So that the nomoli, excuse me, were created by the Mende people. And they were used, let's see. Yeah, historically they relied on Nomoli to bring strong harvests and other good fortune. But the little Manny did not do the same for his British handlers.
Yeah, probably because they colonized the shit out of Sierra Leone.
Yep, so that makes sense.
Yes.
But yeah, who knows if he's still in the Manchester Museum or not, but that's the little Manny.
Yeah, still don't fully understand the name, but
nope,
okay.
I don't either. Yeah, they never explained it. Very strange.
Yeah, very strange, but I still love it.
Yes, same.
Okay, so this is the last one we have today, and this is the Black Angel. So this comes from the Midwest of the United States, and specifically Iowa City, Iowa, of Oakland Cemetery, so known as the Black Angel. This is an 8.5-foot tall, broad, winged bronze statue of an angel with its wings outstretched and head facing downwards. It looks as if it's landing instead of taking off, like most angel statues. Its face has a very sorrowful expression, though sometimes its gaze does seem to become a bit menacing to people. The most interesting thing about the appearance of the Black Angel is how its previously gold bronze color has turned a shade of near solid black. So this is also caused by oxidation, but usually oxidized bronze takes on a green or dark green patina, rarely turning so dark a shade of black. So it's not like unheard of, but it is a little weird that it's like so deep black. It was built originally as a custom-ordered grave marker and memorial piece erected in 1912 to mark the resting place of Teresa and Nicholas Feldevert and Teresa's son from her first marriage, Edward. Over time, it transformed, like I said, from this gleaming golden bronze to the usual greenish hue from oxidation, and then transformed into a near coal black color, so like this really deep black. And of course, this is a cursed graveyard objects episode, so it said that the angel is cursed, killing those who touch or kiss it under certain circumstances. So the circumstances around it are as follows. If a girl is kissed in the moonlight while standing at the Black Angel's feet, she will die within 6 months, and nothing can save her from this fate. Simply touching, yeah. And of course, it's the girl. Like, what about the other person?
Typical.
Typical. Simply touching the Black Angel on Halloween results in certain death within 7 years. Instant death occurs if you kiss the angel, and even touching it will kill you if you are not a virgin. So a lot of like virginal things, which you kind of will see why in a moment. The source of the curse of the Black Angel is said to originate with Teresa, who's buried there. Some say the curse is from the artist Mario Corbel, who made the Black Angel, cursing it and her soul for the legal battle she used to try not to pay him due to the angel lacking a bronze stump that she wanted. Others say, and this is the more popular theory, that it's because Teresa actually murdered her son, Edward, instead of illness claiming his life, and that she fled to Iowa from Oregon as penitence. Yet one life was not enough to make up for the life that she took. Some stories claim that Teresa even practiced the dark arts, and that some ritual she did brought the curse upon the Black Angel statue, likely the curse that killed her son. Or sorry, not the curse that killed her son, but likely in that ritual she killed her son. Avoiding the curse of the Black Angel is honestly pretty easy, though. Don't kiss in front of it, don't touch it, and do not kiss the Black Angel itself. So it's like kind of a fun one. Some other I think there was some other lore. If you stare into the angel's eyes, you will come down with an incurable illness. Again, another content warning for miscarriage. A pregnant woman will miscarry if it's touched. And also, this is like the interesting one, that it turns a shade darker each Halloween. So hopefully the rumors, I mean, I don't want to say hopefully the rumors about Teresa murdering her child are true, because that's so dark, but at the same time, this like poor innocent woman's like reputation being ruined over this like creepy Black Angel statue. But it's honestly very beautiful, but it is extremely sinister looking.
Is it? Okay.
So I'll post a photo of it. The day that this goes live. And by the way, on that note, whenever I say that, I post it to our stories and then I save it to our episode picks highlights on Instagram. So if you're ever listening to like a way old episode and I'm like, I'm going to post about it, click through that highlights tab, because it should be in there. So that is our cursed graveyard objects. We've got some, that was a good one. It was a long one. We've got some really fun topics coming up. We're like planning out the rest of our content for this season, for season 4 in 2025. And then we'll take our normal summer hiatus and then we'll be back for season 5.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Time flies.
Time really does fly. So if you guys have requests for the rest of this year, please DM us or email us at girlsgonespooky@gmail.com. You can follow us at Girls Gone Spooky on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Am I missing any? No, that's it.
Nope, I think that's it.
And please rate and review the podcast. Tell your friends if you have spooky friends, or if you just want to scare your friends, tell them about the podcast. And yeah, we will be back next week. And until then, stay
spooky. Bye.
Bye.